Hello, I am Mario 8th and welcome to Super Mario Bros. In Review, the show where I will be reviewing all 18 Super Mario Bros. Platformers and ranking them to find the ultimate Super Mario Bros. Game. You can find all the previous and future videos in the playlist linked in the description, but first, this week we will be visiting Super Mario Sunshine! Wahoo! Released in 2002, July in Japan, August in the States, and October in PAL regions, all on the Nintendo GameCube. This is the first time a Mario game has been released in every targeted market in the very same year, although it did take until December to launch in South Korea. But still, this is the shortest amount of time people had to wait to play the newest Super Mario release, and it launched to, well, good reviews. Sunshine was one of the best-selling games on the GameCube, cited multiple times as being the best platformer on the console, and at launch received mainly 8s or 9s. And while this is never good practice, comparing the review scores of 64 with Sunshine, 64 usually did a bit better, but with more times where the opinion on Sunshine really started to sour. The game has a lot of problems that were caused mainly by a very short development period. While 6 years passed between 64 and Sunshine, after many failed tech demos like the direct sequel to 64 and the Mario 128 tech demo, development in earnest didn't begin until late 2000, early 2001. Only a year and a half of dev time leads to a lot of cut content and many other features being rushed. There were 5 levels cut from the main game, the final product had glitches abound, the game was even supposed to run at 60 FPS but had to be reduced to 30. There was simply not enough time for optimization, and in the time since 2002, many people have come out of the woodwork to blast Sunshine as one of the worst Mario games. Unplayable, a travesty. They are wrong. Being produced by Shigeru Miyamoto and Takashi Tezuka, Sunshine was directed by Yoshiaki Koizumi and Kanata Usui. It is also the very first game to have Satoru Iwata as the executive producer. The score was a collaboration between series GOAT Koji Kondo along with lesser-known artist Shinobu Tanaka, who wound up writing some of my favorite pieces from the game. During development, they wanted to do a lot of stuff, and after cutting a bunch of it, they still wound up with a pretty weird game. The team was worried about Sunshine being too similar to Mario 64. To differentiate, they gave Mario a fun companion, the Flash Liquidizing Ultra Dowsing Device, or FLUDD for short. FLUDD's able to shoot water at stuff, hover in the air for a short time, or with the right nozzles go really fast or really high. Mario lost the ability to crouch or punch, but the game more than makes up for it by the fact that Mario actually controls well. What made it all the weirder, the whole game is voice acted? Well, at least all the cutscenes have Mario characters speaking in full English dialogue. And it's, well, charming. I'll say it's charming. I played Super Mario Sunshine a lot as a kid. It was the first 3D Mario game I played and I loved it. I loved the worlds, the music, every level felt so big. I just accepted the somewhat frequent jank as it is because I was a dumb kid. I accepted how weird everything was because I was a dumb kid. And now that I'm a dumb adult, well, in Super Mario Sunshine, Mario's going on a vacation with Peach, Toadsworth, and a bunch of toads to Isle Delfino. Upon arriving, the whole place has been covered by this icky paint-like goop, and all the shine sprites have fled. Mario meets FLUDD and helps clean off the airport, afterwards finding that all the Piantas think he did it in the first place. Well, an all blue and gray version of Mario at least, but the Piantas blame him anyway. After arresting Mario, they task him with cleaning up the whole island and to get rid of all that ugliness. He does so for a while, eventually meeting up with his shadow self, who turns out to be Bowser's son, Bowser Jr., and Princess Peach is his mom. And he captures her. Shocker. So Mario finishes cleaning up the island, ruins Bowser's giant floating hot tub, the shine sprites return, and the gang finally get to have their vacation. It's not exactly a good story and the voice acting does not help, but it is the most story we've gotten in a Mario game thus far, and that is something. So Mario's cleaning up the island. This pertains to him traveling to different areas, doing tasks for the locals, and receiving a shine at the end. And the levels are all so fun to be in. Each is given a unique theme and has relatively different styles despite all being on one island. Rico Harbor is filled with working folk in sailor uniforms, there's construction equipment for platforms, boats everywhere, and the theme song is heavier. Gelato Beach has a more upbeat song and is filled with a bunch of people on vacation. Even the other beach level, Serena Beach, manages to feel different by taking place at sunset and having half the levels take place inside the hotel. Each level is filled with the locals, either Piantas, big folk with palm trees for hair, or Nokis, shell-like people. During each shine within each level, most of them have different dialogue referencing something going on. My favorite little dialogue was a Noki couple that first appears on Gelato Beach, where the girl is just constantly dragging the boy. Some of the NPCs might give flavor text, others give hints on how to complete the level. Entire subplots occur throughout the different shines and sometimes persist through entirely different levels. That, combined with how certain aspects of the levels change depending on which shine is selected, makes every series of shines feel like an insulated but continuing adventure. Speaking of level design, I truly love every single one. For a game that was released on the Nintendo GameCube in 2002, they are still so fun to explore. Each level path usually has a few different ways to progress to the goal, and the harder platforming sections where FLUDD is taken away are really good linear 3D stages. The few NPCs really give a sense that each area is actually lived in. Mario is just showing up and cleaning up some goop. And with the expansive levels, every corner usually has something fun to find. A lot of the time, Mario might find a secret shine or a shortcut to finish the level quicker. Unfortunately, most of the exploration is only rewarded by a blue coin. And blue coins do suck. Each level has 30 hidden in different areas, and 10 can be traded in for an extra shine. But some only appear during certain shine missions and are very easily missable. I have completed this game numerous times, but I always manage to miss at least one blue coin. This time, the blue bird in Bianco Hills is the one that got me, but there's always at least one. The worst offender of this is also my favorite level, Noki Bay. A bay with high walls, one of the best tracks in the game, and a gorgeous blue and green color palette. I love exploring here, finding all the nooks and crannies to beat the level more efficiently. And the blue coins are just everywhere. It's hard to track them, some become inaccessible almost randomly. It can be so frustrating, especially for first time, or second time, or third time, or etc. time to players who don't have them all memorized. They wouldn't be so bad, but specific blue coins aren't tracked. Only the total count collected. So the only way to know if I missed the second coin under the box on Mission 2 that only appears in Mission 2 is to go and check that specific spot during Mission 2. And if I've collected 29 out of 30, but I don't remember exactly which ones I've gotten, the only sure way is to check them all. This is obviously a hit from the cut levels. They still wanted 120 shine, so now we need enough blue coins to buffer that number. The blue coins are probably the most egregious example of cut content, but the list goes on. While I do love all the levels, sometimes they just don't hold up as well. The surfing for red coins in Rico Harbor is messy, Mario has to fight Gooper Blooper 3 separate times, there are 2 different shines where he just has to quickly clean up goop. And this is in addition to the vast amount of glitches. Yeah, each level seems to get good visual polish, but then Mario falls through a block or glitches while landing on the edge of something. And the lily pad level. And the pachinko machine level. After years and years of honing my skills, I can get through everything with relative ease, but I do accept that they are fair and valid criticisms. Speaking of not valid criticisms, I think the game controls incredibly well. A big thing for me is game feel, and whenever I am controlling Mario, it feels great. He moves when I want him to, he turns on a dime, his jump and area controls feel perfect. FLUDD could have used a bit of work admittedly, but the solo platform levels, Chuckster level exempt, really show how good it feels to platform. He's got a jump, a sideways jump that goes a bit higher, a spin jump that goes even higher, and the triple jump that is sometimes hard to set up right. But this skill set combined with FLUDD's hover capabilities make for really fun movement. In fact, this type of excellent movement just so happens to come back in about 9 more games, so hold tight until then. Speaking of FLUDD, aside from hovering, he also is the main way to do combat. Sure, Mario can still jump on things, but FLUDD is used to spray and stun enemies or hover them to get a better vantage point for a stomp in. Being set on a different island from the other games, there are a lot of different enemies in Sunshine. We have the usuals like Pokies and Boos, with newcomers like Cataquacks and Strollin' Stoops. And who doesn't like Strollin' Stoop? The bosses probably made the biggest impact, being the first to have Gooper Blooper, PD Piranha, and the introduction of Bowser Jr. And while each boss is fun the first time around, I didn't really need to fight the bloopers that much, or the cannon twice, or the Goopy Piranha Plant thing 4 separate times, or Shadow Mario in literally each level. But the Electric Manta Ray will forever live in my nightmares. That one was tough as a kid. What I really love about the game is the vibe. It's bright, oftentimes funny, every level is fun to explore, most of the shines have a fun puzzle to solve, unless it involves spraying flippable panels, then it's literally the worst. It's really fun to run around, even just the mechanic of running and cleaning up goop feels good. The music is all great and fits every level incredibly well. It really feels like Mario and crew are on an island vacation. And the camera, while sometimes prone to going off into weird angles, at least lets the player control it. 64 gave hard angles with arbitrary limits. Sunshine gives free movements that sometimes go awry. I will always choose free movement over poorly pre-decided angles. Super Mario Sunshine has its problems, that's for sure. But what truly makes a Mario game, to me, is how fun it is to play, how good it feels to move, how good it feels as a platformer. Mario 64 was a great start. It did so many things correctly on the first try. But with 6 years of tinkering, Mario Sunshine was able to fine-tune the movement just a bit more. Maybe I'm being overly defensive, and maybe it's just the nostalgia talking, but I do hope I was able to adequately explain how my new ranking is number 2, Super Mario 64, number 1, Super Mario Sunshine. It's not the best Mario game by any means, but it's more fun to control, and that is really the deciding factor for me. But there are still a lot of 3D Mario games, and there's no way Mario 64 will wind up at the bottom, no way Mario Sunshine will land at the top. But before we find out where they land, first, we're already headed back to 2D Mario with the Nintendo DS classic, New Super Mario Bros. But in the meantime, thank you so much for watching. If you liked this video, maybe leave a rating or a sub to be notified of more. While you're down there, you can check the description for all of my socials where I'm at Mario8th everywhere. I'm on Twitter, Tumblr, and you can see what games I'm playing on ggApp.io. Also in the description is the playlist that every Mario in Review video will eventually be in. And if you'd like, let me know what your personal Mario ranking is in the comment section. Anyway, thanks for watching and I'll see you next time.